So welcome, folks. My name is Eliel Acosta. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here at Johns Hopkins School of Education. We're excited to have you this afternoon for our Applied Behavioral Analysis Virtual Information Session. So we'll be together for the next hour or so. But before I get started, just a few kind of house cleaning items. This session is being recorded, so more than likely, probably within a 3 to 4 business day window, I will be sending out an email to everyone who's registered and attended with the recording. So if at some point later down the road you want to revisit some of the information that we'll go over here together, that will be available to you. But real briefly, just a quick agenda for today's session. I'll talk a little bit over about the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Then at that point, I will let Dr. Martyr take over and she'll introduce herself and go at a deeper level in review of the Applied Behavioral Analysis program here at Hopkins. I will return at some point here at the end, I promise, to talk about the admissions requirements and also financial aid and scholarship opportunities. We typically do have some time at the end of these sessions, about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the content of the program, to answer live Q&As. So as we kind of present here, right, if there are questions that you are curious about or just want to know more, feel free to drop them in the Q&A function, and we'll revisit them at the end of the session. But again, just to kind of get started here, so Johns Hopkins, right, School of Education, we're one of 9 schools within JHU. Our enrollment size, you can see there, is roughly just over 1,000 students, and we offer quite a few number of graduate level programs, such as 10 master's degree programs, 2 within special education. Again, for tonight's session, it's the Master of Special Education and Severe Disabilities, ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis. And then next week on Wednesday as well at 5 p.m., we'll have another webinar focused on our second master's degree in special education that's more focused on mild to moderate disabilities. So if there is some general interest for folks here, feel free to register for that session as well. We will have faculty from that program with us during that evening webinar. But other than that, right, we offer other type of programs here at the School of Education. We also have 2 doctorate programs, 2 graduate certificates, again, one of them being that postmaster certificate degree that Dr. Martyr will talk about here today. And then we have over 109 full-time faculty, typically award about 500 degrees. Our alumni is constantly growing with about 27,000. And we're ranked in the top 20 best education schools by US News and World's in Report. On the right side of the screen, right, you'll see kind of just a quick picture of what our student body looks like. But obviously that's can depend on the type of program that you're applying to and the program that you're going to be coming into. For our program, in terms of special education, ABA, and mild to moderate disabilities, I will say it does attract a lot more domestic students within the Maryland, DC, Baltimore area. We also do have students that come from other states, but I will say generally that's typically the profile of students that are going to be your peers. But just in general, in the School of Education, we have over 42 states plus DC in terms of our students, 32% first generation students, which is quite a big number, right? And then 30% international. And just remind me, and I'll remind myself as well at the end of the session, I'll try to include, we hosted a webinar in September on how to apply or how to approach a graduate level application, mostly partly because, right, that number that you see there, that 32% first gen, is a quite of a big number, and we want to make sure that applicants, as they approach our applications, that they put their best foot forward and are as competitive as they can be. But anyways, I digress. I'm kind of talking a little bit too much about that there. Online versus on-campus enrollment as well. So you'll find that our programs are offered either online or in person. Special education, for the most part, is online. Some programs within special education, and you'll come to find out here in a few minutes, do have the option to take some courses in person if that's something that you're looking for. But in general, right, we hope that you find, right, the School of Education as a potential home for your graduate level career in terms of your education. And if you have further questions about the student body, right, moving forward, feel free to reach out. And we're more than happy to connect people with current students if that helps you kind of understand the program a little bit better and hopefully makes you feel comfortable in approaching it. So moving forward, this is our special education faculty. Like I said, Dr. Cruz and Dr. Shelton typically oversee more of the mild to moderate disabilities program. They'll be with us next Wednesday. And then here with us, Dr. Martyr is more focused on the ABA track. So at this point, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Martyr, and she'll lead you into the next part of the presentation.
Great. Thank you, Elia. Welcome, everybody. So wonderful to have you here this evening. I can't believe here in Maryland it's going to get dark already. So I don't know where everybody is, but I'm not ready for this time of year just yet. But it's nice to have you all here, and I'm looking forward to answering your questions. So as you can see, I'm associate professor here at Johns Hopkins. And I have been the faculty lead for the special education programs, as well as the ABA program specifically since about 2013 when the program started. So our program is, wow, how old is our program? It is now close to 12 years. We're hitting our 12-year mark. We've had a lot of folks come through our program and become board certified behavior analysts. So I'm excited to talk to you guys about that tonight. If you want to go on to the next slide, Eliel, thank you. So all of you are interested in an ABA program, and so that's why you are here. So this first question, I think probably some of you could answer that question. What is applied behavior analysis? But to just sort of, how we are looking at how, our focus on applied behavior analysis is really looking at applied behavior analysis from an educational perspective. So as we all know, ABA is the scientific study of the principles of learning and behavior and understanding why humans do what they do. And so we're looking at that within an educational context. So within applied behavior analysis, we take those principles of learning to improve socially important behavior for all individuals. So if we think about within schools and educational settings, not just schools, but any educational and instructional setting, we're really looking at how do we improve outcomes for the individual that I'm serving. So when we look at board certified behavior analysts, which, both of our programs, our postmaster certificate and our master's program, lead to that certification in behavior analysis as a BCBA from the Behavior Analytics Certification Board. So that means that you've taken graduate level courses to become board certified. So we see, when we think about behavior analysis, applied behavior analysis in education, we see folks who are BCBAs working in a variety of settings and in a variety of roles. So again, if we're just thinking about ABA and education, if we make that even broader, there's even more roles for BCBAs, but thinking about school settings or educational settings, we see BCBAs working in K through 12 public and private schools. We see BCBAs working in center-based programs or ABA service providers or organizations, home-based programs, as well as BCBAs who consult schools or agencies. Then we have different roles, right? So we see BCBAs working in school settings as maybe behavior specialists, teachers, school psychologists. We see folks from ABA organizations or schools who work as professional trainers, so staff trainers or professional development trainers. We have folks who are BCBAs who are speech and language pathologists, program coordinators, supervisors, folks who work in home settings, home therapists, as well as administrators of those ABA organizations. So you can see getting your certification in applied behavior analysis provides many opportunities to practice behavior analysis in a variety of settings and in a variety of roles. So then when we think about what those behavior analytics services are within educational settings, we're looking at conducting behavioral assessments, looking at our data, making those data-based decisions based on our data, and how we can improve outcomes for our students or our clients. writing behavior plans, but also revising them. And when we're talking about applied behavior analysis, we're not just talking about reducing interfering behaviors or challenging behaviors. We're also talking about those important skills that we want to teach our clients or our students. So it's writing those behavior analytic plans, training others to implement those plans, to implement the components of teaching, as well as the behavior reduction programs, overseeing the implementation of those programs, and then content that's contained in the BACB. It's actually the 6th edition test content outline. I found the one slide we forgot to update, Eliel. So it is we are now on the 6th edition, and it's called the test content outline list, which is previously the BACB put out this task list that was supposed to guide curriculum within the programs, as well as to let BCBAs know that the content that they're responsible for knowing as BCBAs. Also, now they have moved on to the test content outline, 6th edition, which outlines what's going to be on that exam, that big BCBA exam, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So that helps guide what we're doing in schools, but it's not the full curriculum of what a higher education might be doing in ABA. Okay, on our next slide, I wanted to share with all of you, and this is right from the 2025 report from the Behavior Analyst Certification Board. You know, I think when you're thinking about applying to graduate school, you want to know what you're going to get out, not only get board certified when you leave the program, but also, you know, what are the opportunities within the field. And so the BACB puts out a jobs report every single year. And so the information you see in front of you is the demand for jobs within the field of behavior analysis. So again, this is from 2010 to 2024. There's been an overall increase in the demand for those jobs, but specifically from 2023 to 2024, there's a 58% increase in jobs posted within the field of behavior analysis. So folks who are looking for specifically for BCBAs. In 2024, the demand was highest in these 5 states: California, Florida, Texas, Virginia, and Michigan. But more specifically, I looked at the data for the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And so in DC, it's actually increased 127%, a lot of job postings there, 62% in Virginia. And that's one of our top 5 states that were identified by the BACB, and 41% in Maryland. Not quite sure they didn't put DC in there as that 5 states, but maybe it's because DC is not a state. It's what is it? It's a district. So I thought that was kind of interesting when I was looking at the data. Okay, next slide. So the demand is high for this certification for practitioners who have this expertise. When we look at what do you need to do to become board certified, if you look at the right-hand side of your screen here, you see those circles. So some of the requirements for becoming board certified: first, you must have a master's degree, you must do ABA coursework, you must complete fieldwork experience, and then once you have all 3, you apply to the BACB to say, hey, I want to become board certified. I have all of this education, and they approve that hopefully, and then you sit to take the BCBA exam, and you pass that exam, and then you become board certified. So here at Johns Hopkins, we have 2 options for becoming board certified, or to becoming eligible to become board certified. One is our master's in special education with a focus on applied behavior analysis. And that program includes 7 ABA courses that align with the BACB requirements. That's 21 credits. And then additional 5 special education courses. And I'm going to share with you guys a course sequence and what that looks like. We also have the option to enroll in the practicum elective courses. So you do not have to complete the practicum electives. They are additional, supplemental to the program. But those 4 practicum electives match up with the fieldwork experience requirements to become board certified. So oftentimes we may have people in our program who do not work in, let's say, like an ABA organization where supervision is built in. And so they take the ABA coursework to get the fieldwork hours. So each person is going to be a little bit different if they're going to actually enroll in those practicum courses. So the master's program is completed in 2 years. Obviously, if you're taking those practicum electives, it's going to add a little bit more time onto your program because we do 4 practicum electives. 4 practicum courses, and that's over a course, of 2 years, so 4 semesters. Then we have our postmaster's certificate, and this is really for folks who already have their master's degree, and typically in a background of special ed, or psychology, but that isn't the case that it has to be that. But most of our students, all of our students in the postmaster's certificate already have their master's degree, and they want to get that certification as well, and they want that specialization. So they take the 7 ABA courses with us. And then they also have the opportunity to enroll in the 4 practicum electives. Again, if they are in a situation where they don't have that supervision built in. And then that program also is completed in 2 years with that optional 3rd year for the practicum electives. So if anybody's familiar with all the changes that are going on within our field when it comes to requirements, ABAI is the Association for Behavior Analysis International, and since I want to say it was like 2015 or 2016, they have been verifying coursework for the BACB to say, hey, this program meets all of the requirements that you have outlined. They are verified, and these courses stand up, right, for the BCBA requirements. So we've been verified by the ABAI. That system, that verification course sequence system, is actually sunsetting as of this year, December 31st, 2025. And there are new coursework requirements as of 2027. So you have 2 pathways to become board certified. We are following pathway 2. So that means that you have your master's degree and you're doing the coursework, ABA coursework. And so both of our programs enable you to apply to the BACB under pathway 2. As of this fall, we are all updated on our coursework is all revised. Our learning objectives are all updated to adhere to those 2027 requirements. If you're really in the weeds on this, in 2032, all students who go through ABA programs in order to become board certified, must be applying to an accredited program through ABAI or APBA. And so we will be moving towards that direction as well. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, you see there the BACB puts out their newsletters, and this newsletter specifically does provide all of the details about these different pathways to certification, and talks about all those changes. So if anybody is really interested in finding out all the different changes, you can refer to that newsletter for sure from the BACB. Okay, next slide. So let's talk about our program format. Both students in the master's program as well as a postmaster will take all of their ABA courses together. All of our ABA courses are offered online synchronously. So you are actually joining by zooming into class, as they say, and it's like being in the classroom, right? But you're all on your computer. So all of our courses in ABA are provided in that way. For our special ed courses, so if you're in the master's program and you're taking the special ed courses, the course modality there is either online asynchronous or online synchronous. So either you're zooming into class or it's asynchronous, where you are completing modules of work on your own, maybe meeting up throughout the semester, but it's more self-guided completion of the semester. In the master's program, we offer courses in the fall, spring, and summer, while the postmaster's is only fall and spring. There are no courses in the summer. So the requirement is considered a part-time program where students are taking 2 courses per semester. The majority of our students do work full-time and then go to graduate school in the evening. So all of our courses are offered in the evenings, pretty much around this time period from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Students are able to get through the program in the timeline that you see here, the 2 years or the 3 years with the practicum, by taking 2 courses per semester. So the overall goal is for us to prepare BCBAs to work in educational settings, to become effective teachers and leaders in the field of special education, as well as ABA. So here's some of our learning objectives: being able to define, demonstrate, and apply these principles of behavior analysis that we were talking about, being able to design and implement as well as monitor those plans that we talked about, either behavior reduction plans or instructional or skill acquisition plans, being able to practice according to the ethics code, managing and monitoring progress, as well as training others in educational settings. And finally, the ultimate outcome is to successfully complete the BCBA exam. Okay, next slide. So let's talk about practicum a little bit and how that works. So if you are someone who, you do not have access to a BCBA who can provide supervision, but you're not quite sure how you're going to get those fieldwork hours, we do provide those electives to get those fieldwork hours that align with the BACB requirements. So the practicum courses are designed to meet the concentrated experiences outlined by the BACB under the pathway to coursework. And we provide supervised experience in the application of behavior analytics services in educational settings. So we also have a practicum coordinator who is the liaison between our program, as well as placement. So a lot of folks will do, if they're currently working as a special educator in a school setting, like, a local school district, and they need to have supervision. So we have a practicum coordinator who works with the student to make sure that their site is appropriate, that aligns with the BACB requirements for being a fieldwork placement. And if that's not the case, then we work with you to ensure that we can find a placement for you. And that's the work that the practicum coordinator does. Typically, most folks who work in school settings are practicing many aspects, or will have the opportunity to practice many aspects of behavior analysis. But the most important point that I do want to share with all of you is that to do the practicum electives, because we're an online program, we oftentimes will have folks outside of Maryland. But in order to do the practicum electives, we do require that you be local to complete the practicum electives, because we are training BCBA. So we assign you BCBAs that we have trained that work in our area. We also truly believe in the importance of having in-person supervision, so that our BCBA supervisors are coming and joining you wherever you are working, to be able to observe your practice. That observation is a big part of that practice in the fieldwork requirements. And so we like to emphasize that our students are getting that face-to-face supervision. So therefore, you need to be local in order to make that happen. So we are able to do the fieldwork hours across 4 semesters of practicum. And since we're doing the concentrated fieldwork, that's 1,500 hours. Each semester is a 15-week semester. So across each semester, students accrue 25 hours per week. And you get 1.5 hours per week with that individual supervisor I was talking about that you are assigned, as well as getting 1 hour of group supervision through the course that we teach that goes along with practicum. So you are getting the 10% requirements. It's actually a little bit less now than 10%, but we're still keeping it at 10% in order to make sure that we are meeting all of those BACB requirements. So that's my overall on practicum electives. It's a lot of information. There's a lot of detail on those requirements. So if anybody has specific questions about that, I'm here to answer those questions. So on this screen, you see the course sequence. This is for the Master's in Special Ed with following an autism track. So these are all of our autism courses. You can see in the fall and spring are all the ABA courses. And then the summer is when we typically take the special ed / autism courses. You can see also how we have the optional 3rd year with the practicum electives shared. Obviously, if you're not doing the practicum electives, everything is completed within that 2nd year. But if we go to the next slide, is the postmaster certificate in ABA, and you can see all of the ABA courses much clearer here, where you have the first semester of the 1st year is the Intro to Applied Behavior Analysis course, as well as our Research Methods course. And then we go into the spring semester for behavioral assessment, really focused on challenging behaviors or interfering behaviors. And then we have our ethics course in the spring semester. If you're doing the master's, then you would go on in the summer and take 2 courses. Fall semester, we do behavioral assessment and instructional strategy. So while we have challenging behaviors in the spring semester before, in this course, we're actually looking at skill acquisition and how do we improve those learning of skills. And then if you're doing practicum, then you would take it during that semester of the second year, fall semester of the second year. If not, if you're not doing practicum, then you would be taking that supervision and consultation course. And this is the same for the master's. And then in the spring semester, it's the applications of ABA in the classroom. And in this class, we're really looking at specific topics in ABA as it relates to education, but we're also talking about how to prepare for that BCBA exam. Everybody gets really nervous about that exam. It's a really big exam. The pass rate's not great. So how do we, pass rate nationally is not so great. So how do we, how do we prepare so that we're successful with that exam? So we spend some time talking about that, and we do the second practicum that semester. If you are, if you're not doing the field work with us, that is where the program would end, and you would be done with all of your courses in the ABA program. If not, you'd be heading on to the third year where you do the third and fourth practicum during fall and spring, and those two courses as well. And that would mean also then in the spring semester, you would only take one course because there's only 7 ABA courses, and that does not divide evenly across 2 semesters. Okay, next slide, some additional information. So students who complete the coursework in either program, the master's focus on ABA, or the postmaster's will receive that master's degree or the postmaster's certificate. And upon successful completion of the fieldwork hours, so once you finish the coursework, you can graduate from the program. Once you complete the fieldwork hours as required by the BACB, either on your own outside of Hopkins or through our practicum electives, then you are ready to apply to the BACB to become board certified. It's really important to note that Johns Hopkins does not provide that certification. You are responsible as a graduate of the program of applying to the BACB and providing all of the supporting documentation to them. We will provide you that information, but you are responsible for actually applying to the BACB. We don't do that on your behalf. Again, we don't provide that certification in behavior analysis. We just provide the degree to get there. It is also really expected, it's really important, it is to state that it's expected that all students who go through our program will continue on to become board certified, right? So you can't go through this program and call yourself a behavior analyst. You actually have to go through the BACB and become a board certified behavior analyst in order to practice ABA. And for example, in the state of Maryland, you actually have to have a license in behavior analysis in order to practice ABA within the state of Maryland, and many states across the US have those requirements. All right, so what are some of the advantages of our program? One is this focus on ABA and education. So, we have a lot of different disability categories that we provide support to within educational settings. And so our focus is not on a specific categorization, but more on education as a whole. So, are we serving students with autism or intellectual disabilities or general education? It really does not matter. It's an educational setting. Another advantage is our students are passing that BCBA exam. So I'm going to share some stats with you in a few minutes. Also, another advantage is our practicum. Our fieldwork hour practicum our practicum supports the fieldwork hours. Our students are quite successful in getting all of those hours. We provide you with that trained BCBA who supervises you, and you have that coursework that's associated with it. The other thing about practicum that I think is a huge advantage is that each student coming into this program, you see we've got postmaster certificate students and master students. Everybody's coming in with a different skill set. And just as we practice in ABA, we want to assess those skills and help our students grow from there. It's the same thing within our program, that we are assessing each student. Each student is coming into this graduate program with a different set of skills, and we are helping you grow within practicum from your current set of skills and even further into the field of ABA. And then finally, all of our faculty are board certified behavior analysts and are practicing behavior analysis every day. So every faculty member that you come in contact with are BCBAs, of course, and they are also BCBAs at the doctoral level. So they all have their PhD or EDD within the field. Oh, here's my stats. Okay, so since our program started in 2013, we've had 106 graduates. They represent a variety of professionals within education, from special educators, behavior specialists, school psychologists, speech and language pathologists, administrators. So all those different roles that I was talking to you guys about in the beginning slide, we see them in our graduates. We see all of those roles within our graduates. We have had 11 cohorts go through our program. Um, and across all the graduates of the program, 88% passed the exam the first time. So this is looking at all of our graduates. So the BACB does provide data on first-time test takers every single year, and you can go to their website and check out those pass rates. I've calculated our pass rate based on all of our students, so not year by year like the BACB does. And then those students who don't pass it that first time, they go on to pass it the second time. So we have a 95% pass rate overall. So our students are quite successful with that exam. If you are familiar with the BCBA pass rates for that exam, they're quite low. They're close to like 60% of the time people pass the exam. I don't remember the number for 2024, but I know the year before that was close to 60% or 61%. And then finally, some other impacts of our program is that majority, as I noted before, go on to become licensed behavior analysts. So majority of our graduates who live in Maryland become LBAs within the state of Maryland. And then also our students who are outside of Maryland also become licensed behavior analysts within their states, as long as their states have that requirement. A question that I've gotten over the years that I've decided to add in as a slide to our information session is, who is your ideal program candidate? So folks who are really interested and are committed to the field of applied behavior analysis, this is definitely the program for you. If you're passionate about the field and want to learn more and become board certified, this is the program for you. If you are looking for an additional certification to add 4 letters after your name, this is not the program for you. Understanding these requirements, the BACB definitely does not make it easy to become board certified. There's a lot of detail in the coursework requirements, the fieldwork requirements. So understanding all of those requirements is really important. It's not that you have to memorize what the requirements are, but you have all the resources there. It's important for you to review what those requirements are. So if you've joined us today and you're learning about ABA and you're thinking about graduate school, but hearing about the BCBA or the BACB, you're hearing that for the first time tonight, please check out their website and know what those requirements are. You have to know what you're getting into and what those requirements are so that you can be successful within any graduate program that you go to. Being able to commit to 2 to 3 years of hard, intensive graduate work is very important. This program is intensive. Each course, and I've just been doing my advising meetings for the fall semester, each course has lots of reading every single week, chapters and articles, quizzes every week. There are exams and papers throughout every single class, as well as professionally presenting to your classmates. So it's an intensive program for sure. It is a short term, right? It's only 2 to 3 years, but it is definitely, you have to be ready to put in the work. The more you put into it, the more you will definitely get out of this program. And then finally, demonstrating that meeting the needs of the admissions requirements, which Eliel will talk to you about in a few seconds. And then finally, willing to work and study hard. That is our ideal candidate. So next steps, make sure to review those requirements by the BACB. That's the website. It's pretty short. You can write it down. Get your application started. And again, Eliel will talk to you about that next. And please do feel free to reach out to me at any point. You can see my email is right there, tmartyr1@jhu.edu, and I can put that into the chat while Eliel is talking. So that, if you do have questions, I would love to hear from you. Please feel free to reach out to me.
Great. Thanks, Tammy. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the application requirements. So before we get started, the application is live for the fall of 2026. So if you do want to get started on your application, I would definitely encourage you to start doing that. To be considered complete, right, is this list of requirements that we have on this slide. So typically, right, we are looking for a minimum GPA of a 3.0 on a 4.0 scale from all previous undergraduate and graduate studies. We also will need an online application that you can get through our website, and there is an $80 application fee. All the transcripts that we require do have to be official, so just make sure that you're taking the necessary steps to reach out to your prior institutions to send all official transcripts directly to us. There's also an essay slash personal statement, which I think, right, a lot of the content that Dr. Marte went through today should prepare you on approaching that essay and personal statement. There is also a request for you to upload a resume or a CV. So take your time with the resume. It's definitely, it's different from an employment, I would say, resume, right? We really want to know what type of experiences you've had, right? Whether they're employment experiences, volunteer experiences, research experiences, if you've had those. But yeah, just don't shy away, don't feel like it has to be a one-page resume CV. If it's 2, 3 pages, that's perfectly fine, right? We want to know uh, what type of experience you're bringing into the program. We also will require 2 letters of recommendation. And this is the one that I think I get questions about the most when it comes to prospective students, right? We don't necessarily have a preference in terms of whether it's one academic or one professional or 2 professional-based recommendations or even 2 academic-based recommendations. You really are going to have to figure out what is the best approach for your situation, right? So, for the most part, I will say the majority of our candidates or prospective students who look at our programs are typically, well into their career, 3 to 5 years of work experience or more. And in those situations, right, sometimes it's difficult for students to find academic based recommendations because it's been a while since they were in a classroom. And if that is the case, right, feel free to go in full confidence of approaching and requesting 2 professional based ones as long as they're relevant to their program. On the other hand, right, we also do get students who are coming from undergrad to graduate school, right? And if that is the case in those type of situations, right, it might make sense for you to reach out to an academic-based or a former faculty member, I should say. So use your best judgment. The important thing, right, is that you find individuals that know you either from an academic perspective or a professional perspective, right? And that and that you have confidence, I should say, that they can provide a strong, detailed letter of rec, right? They know the program that you're applying to. They know what BACB or BCBA certification process means, right? And they can kind of demonstrate that, right, through the letter of recommendation in support of your application. So, um, yeah, just take some time, really reflect. I always tell candidates, don't hesitate to reach out to those individuals and maybe set up a time to meet with them. And talk to them about the programs that you're applying for, right? So you kind of set a standard of what to expect. Um, there's also a interview process with faculty that typically will happen in the spring. And then the last piece is that we don't require or take any type of GRE exam. So hopefully that makes it a little bit easier. So it's a pretty straightforward application. Like I said, the application is live. Deadline isn't going to be, I don't know if that's in one of my slides, but deadline's not going to be until July 15th. So take your time with it, right? Go with it. Submit it once you feel confident that this is the best work that you can do. If I have any students here today, or if you're listening to this after it's been recorded, if you have an international background, right? Maybe you went to the UK, right, or India, or Asia, China, and did your bachelor's degree there, right, then we will need a course by course evaluation of all your academic credentials, typically through an approved agency. You can see the list of the agencies that we do take a course by course evaluation from. Just real briefly, some of the ones that we do see more is WES, right? So that should sound familiar for some folks. ECE, SpanTran, which just changed their name. And there's another one that I'm blanking on. But you can visit our website, take a look at some of those agencies. Plan ahead. This is definitely a piece that you don't want to do within the 2 week, 2 weeks before the deadline of July 15th. I typically advise students who have to do a course by course eval to maybe plan 2 to 3 months in terms of requesting that in order for that to be completed in time. So again, this is specifically if you have an educational background that was abroad. Um, the other piece that we do like to mention when it comes to our special education programs is that we cannot sponsor F1 or J1 visas, right? Because this program is hybrid, online, um, and part-time, right? So if you are requiring a visa to study in the US, unfortunately, we won't be able to provide support. But if you are an international student, right, or someone with an international background who doesn't need an F1 J1 visa to come into this program, right, like we're still open to evaluating your application. And I can, if you want to discuss your situation further, I'm more than happy to connect one-on-one. But I just wanted to mention that briefly. So when it comes to tuition and fees and this is for this academic year of 25 to 26, right? You'll see the cost per credit is $1,140 per credit. If you're looking at it per course, you're looking at 3,420. Uh, if your course is online, like the majority of your courses will be for this program, there is an added $20 per credit tech fee. So just be aware of that. There's also an additional $175 per semester registration fee. And then, like I mentioned before, the application fee of $80. So this should give you a general idea on assessing the cost. Um, when you're looking at the graduate school, right, or a school of education, right, you want to start looking at different kind of funding buckets or funding sources on how to cover your tuition and fees, right? So there is federal aid, loans, and work study. We would encourage you to complete the FAFSA, similar to maybe your experience, hopefully at the undergraduate level. We have a financial aid team, which I'll share their contact info here in a bit. So if you need a refresher, because a lot has changed in the last five years when it comes to the FAFSA application, our financial aid team is more than happy to jump on a Zoom with you and go over that information. There are state and federal grant scholarships that you could be reviewed for. Hopkins will have its own kind of endowed scholarships. And then also within your work site, your workplace, right, you want to maybe reach out to HR and seek out if there is any employer tuition reimbursement or support. And then also there's private loans that could also become a possibility. But these are generally the funding sources that we talk to students when it comes to funding a degree. But again, don't feel like you have to navigate that process on your own. As you go through your application and as you submit the FAFSA, I would encourage you all at some point, maybe by the end of the fall, early winter, but definitely before you accept your offer of admission, to have an appointment with our financial aid office so you have a complete understanding on the cost and the best approach to cover that cost. Oh, my keyboard stopped working there. So a little bit what I mentioned before there, right? We do have endowed scholarships. They're limited, partial based that you could potentially be reviewed for. There are also external scholarships that I would start or encourage you all to start looking at, like scholarship.com, teacher.org, and as I mentioned before, complete the FAFSA, right? That's going to be a critical piece at the graduate level to assure that you have or that you use the most resources to cover the tuition. So as I mentioned, right, we have a financial aid team. Really, I'm really excited that we have a financial aid team. It makes, I think, the admissions process, and I'm sure Tammy's job, a lot easier when you have folks who specialize on the financial side of education. Um, you'll see a photo there of Nettie, and then who's our director of financial aid, and then Jenny Fordham or Jennifer Fordham, who's a financial aid specialist. Those QR codes should work. I didn't check them before the presentation, but if they don't work, someone let me know in the chat box, and I can provide those direct links. You can also find them on our website. But they're all great individuals with a lot of experience that are there to help and support you in kind of understanding the cost of the program and how to approach it and make it affordable on your end. So I don't want to, yeah, I guess that's the end of my slides. We'll go ahead and open to Q&As. And I think I saw a few come in or maybe not. So if folks have questions, feel free to use the Q&A function. If you're brave enough, more than happy to give you access to your mic. Just wave your hand, and I will give you access to do that. Typically with these sessions, they're a little bit more smaller, more intimate, so we typically approach them at a more personal level. Yep. So we do have one person raising their hand. So Modestine, I'm going to go ahead and oh, where did you go? There you are. Going to give you access to your mic, and let me know if I pronounced your name correctly.
Good afternoon. Yes, that's correct. So I have two questions. They talked about the word local. Like, does that mean like DMV area, or we need to be in the Baltimore area for the practicum?
Oh, no, DMV. So it'd be
Oh,
DC, Maryland, Virginia. So that includes Baltimore.
oh, okay, cool. All right. And also, I'm a bit older and I'm applying to a postgraduate certificate, and my undergrad scores, they were undergrad.
Okay.
So the 3.0 scares me.
Yes. And we take that into account when we look at your master's program as well.
Okay, all right.
So if you're looking at the postmaster certificate,
Yes.
if that's what you're applying for, so you'd be providing that 3.0. You're also providing, your undergraduate transcripts as well as your graduate transcripts. So we take that into account. So it's, 3.0 is the requirement for sure. We're looking at that. We're also looking at your references. We're also looking at your letter. So all that gets decided sort of together. It's, we follow a rubric. We're not, like if you don't have a 3.0, you're out, like that kind of a thing. So that's taken into account.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Yep. So we do have another individual who's raising their hand. I'm going to go ahead and give them the mic. So I don't want to mispronounce your name. Is it Ajoki? You should have access to your mic now. You might have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, hello, good evening.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. Quick question. How can we have access to the presentation maybe after this?
Do you mean the recording or
Yes, the
individual
recording.
appointment? They
The
record. Yep.
recording.
So yeah, I will send that out to everyone who registered for today's event. Typically, it takes me about 3 to 4 business days. So you'll get an email from the admissions office with a direct link.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. And then we do, so I know Wang, it looks like you have your hand raised, but before we go to you, we did get one in the Q&A function. So I'll just read it, right? So the individual saying, the program is very educationally based, but would you say the program is still a great fit for someone more interested in the scientific aspects of ABA? I'm interested in the educational parts of ABA, but I am more so planning for a more psychological based career in ABA. So Tammy, that's probably one for you.
Yeah. So first of all, like everything that we're teaching within our program, we are focused on the scientific aspects of ABA. Like that is what we're teaching, right? Because ABA is a science. So we're really, that's what our focus is. When we think about educationally based, right? So we are training practitioners to work in a variety of settings. Our focus is on educational settings, meaning that could be any setting, right? That could be a school setting, that could be a home setting, that could be a community-based center setting, right? So there's a variety of different settings. So, when you say psychologically based, what are you talking about? Like a therapy center, or are you talking about counseling? So I would have to know a little bit more about, sort of how you define that term so I could answer that question. But, as I said, ABA is a science, we're preparing practitioners, right? So practitioners who use evidence-based practice, who understand the research behind ABA, might not be writing for, journals and doing, intensive research, but are using those research-based methods in order to make decisions on programs for the clients that they serve. So if you want to ask another question about that or clarify, that would be awesome. Private practice. Yeah, I hear you. Okay, yeah. So absolutely. So private practice, many BCBAs do have their own practices. I did for a little while as well. I did work in private practice. I had my own practice where I was consulting to families and working in their homes. So yeah, it prepares you for all of that. The program prepares you for all of that.
Great. So thanks, Tammy. So we'll go ahead and move over to Wang. So Wang, I'm going to give you access to your mic, so feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, thank you so much for this introduction. Yeah, I have to say there's a lot of new information I need to digest. Currently, I have one question about this practicum. So I don't know whether I miss or I don't understand. It's like so Johns Hopkins do not provide one specific center for this practicum, and we need to contact some ABA institutes for prepare the practicum, or you guys do have those practicum within your facility?
Right, great question. So we don't have a center where we are placing students that's like a Johns Hopkins center. But we do have a lot of partnerships within the community of other center-based programs that offer fieldwork supervision. So, if you don't have a current placement, we have many students who've come to our program who aren't currently in an ABA-based setting or in a school setting. So we would make recommendations. You should, apply for a position at this place, or consider looking at this school or whatnot. So we do have partnerships, and not official, like formal partnerships, but we do have folks that we recommend and folks that we've worked with over the years.
All right, sure. Thank you.
Sure.
So we do have another question in the Q&A. So this person's planning to switch from a SPED teacher, but where they work part-time as a behavior tech. Can they do this program full-time?
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't. The program is only part-time. The courses are only offered 2 at a time, and they are offered in a specific sequence. So it's not like you can add an additional course from another semester, from a future semester, because each course really builds on the next course. I also wouldn't want anybody to take more than 2 courses. It's just such an intensive program that would overwhelm me. So it's definitely only a part-time.
Great. So we do have a follow-up from Hunter. So do students often work within the KKI, Kennedy Krieger Institute, for those of you who don't know the acronym, for practicum? I'm set to sit for the BCA BA exam this summer and may be interested in the behavioral specialist role there.
Yeah, we've had a few folks who worked at Kennedy Krieger, and many of our faculty also work at Kennedy Krieger, are, doctoral level BCBAs who work at KKI. So yeah, absolutely. We've had a few folks. If you want to connect with me by email, and I can connect you to those folks who are currently, who have gone through our program, and we have a few currently in our program, you can have a conversation with them. And good luck on the exam.
So what local ABA clinics do you have partnerships with? And they work for STEPS ABA.
Yeah, I'm familiar with STEPS ABA. There's a variety of, clinics. I mean, outside of like Kennedy Krieger as well. There's a few different center-based programs, from Baltimore all the way down to Montgomery County. But STEPS ABA, I've talked to folks over there as well. So it's not, again, I just want to reiterate, it's not like a formal partnership, like we have a, you know, a setup. It's more of a, hey, this is a great organization. You should apply to this organization for a job. And then we can consider your practicum experience, where we can work with you. Oftentimes in center-based programs like STEPS ABA, supervision is built in. So that would be a case where I would say, hey, if you have supervision built in and you're happy with that supervision, you may not necessarily need to enroll in our practicum electives. It does save you a little bit of money. It's 4 courses. You know, so again, if you have great supervision already set up within your position, you wouldn't need to do that field work with us. I hope that helps, Bria, with your question.
Nope, don't know what I did there.
Also, just so you know, Eliel, the QR codes do work. I checked.
Oh, great. I know sometimes those QR websites, to create them, they have
Yeah.
like a time frame.
Yes.
Yeah, so folks, if you have any final questions, feel free to use the Q&A function. I know I recognize a lot of the names that I see here tonight. So I believe I've met with a handful of you one-on-one, which is great, but I know sometimes during those discussions, I can't always answer every question, right? That's very specific to ABA, and Tammy and Dr. Martyr is always a great resource, you know, to provide clarity. So definitely use this time that we have with her, and she's been gracious enough to share her email contact if you want to reach out to her after tonight's conversation. Yeah, Bria. So yeah, you can talk, or yeah, I assume you can talk to to Dr. Marta
Absolutely. Yeah. So
one-on-one.
yeah. So Bria, I shared my email. So just shoot me an email and we can set up a time to meet over Zoom.
And for those of you who haven't connected with me one-on-one, that might be a good starting point. So I offer appointments throughout the week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday typically. If you go onto our website, you should find them. And when I do my follow-up email, I'll include the link. But feel free to register for an appointment. If the times don't work, right, I understand that most of you are working professionals. Don't hesitate to send us an email and just ask, like, if we can meet at a different time. I'm more than happy to accommodate my schedule to meet with you all at a time that works best. Yeah. So other than that, I guess doesn't look like there is any more questions. So I'll stay on for a little bit till 6 o'clock, but if folks want to get going and have other things in the evening, you're more than welcome to log out. And again, thanks everyone for attending tonight. Thank you, Tammy, Dr. Martyr, for attending it and kind of providing that really important information that I can't always provide to students, and I know it's always beneficial for them. So.
Absolutely.